Now the Reds are being introduced. Johnny Bench going to first base. Perez. Morgan to second. Concepcion to short. Rose to third. Out to left field goes George Foster. Geronimo to center. Griffey to right field. And in just a moment, 24-year-old Don Gullett. There he is, coming out from Lynn, Kentucky. That's about 100 miles from Cincinnati. And he's out for his second time. In Game 1, he was matching T. Hunt, spinning shutout innings until the Red Sox knocked him out in the seventh with 6 runs in the game that the Red Sox won in the opener 6-0. The breeze tonight is blowing in slightly against the hitters from third to first, from third to home.
Can't we talk with Frank Malzone, who was following this ball club the latter part of the year? He watched Don Gullett along with Eddie Casco, another one of the super scouts. You mentioned Ray Shaw, who followed Cincinnati, or rather the Red Sox. He told us that some games that he charted, Gullett, he threw 9 of 10 fastballs. A couple of games he threw up to 8 forkballs, which moves down and away sometimes to right-handed hitters. Hard curveball. He doesn't throw too many off-speed pitches, so they'll be geared for the fastball, and the Red Sox are a pretty good fastball-hitting club. But he has an amazing fastball when he's right.
Here's a 4-way look at Gullett. He has a forkball, too, that you'll see that'll be a peculiar-looking pitch to you. That's his off-speed pitch, forkball. Cuts his fastball for his slider. Curveball. Here he is in slow motion. Don Gullett, certainly one of the best left-handers in the game. He was All-State in baseball, basketball, and football during his high school career at Kentucky. In the June 1969 free agent draft, he was Cincinnati's first choice, and they chose wisely. He has the best won-and-loss percentage of any active pitcher right now in the major leagues, with 80 wins and 41 losses. 0-1 in the World Series. An amazing season for him. He was out 2 months with a broken thumb and still wound up with 15 wins. The Red players think, Marty Brennaman, that he would have been maybe a 25-game winner had he pitched all the way. And here you go now for the play-by-play.
Thanks very much, Kurt, and hello again, everybody. Juan Benitez will lead it off for the Boston Red Sox. This big game, the final game of the 3-game set here in Cincinnati before we once again change scenes and head back toward Fenway Park in Boston on Saturday afternoon. Benitez waiting, swinging, and fouling away the first pitch. Kurt and Tony talking about Don Gullett. He might well be, Tony, the best all-around athlete on this Cincinnati Reds ball club. Feels his position well, an outstanding pitcher, a pretty good hitting pitcher, good speed. This guy can pretty much do it all. 2 strikes quickly on Benitez.
I guess anybody who can score 70-some points, as we look at Denny Doyle, 72 in a football game's got to be pretty good.
Now, wait a minute now. Only 11 touchdowns, though. 6 extra points.
Grounded to the right side. Joe Morgan will play it, and Benitez an easy out.
That was the forkball, I believe, Marty. Down and away from the right-handed hitter.
Denny Doyle will be up next for Boston. Doyle, so far in this World Series, has had 5 hits and 17 times up. And as we pointed out, this man, pretty much a veteran of Major League Baseball. Philadelphia, the California Angels, the club the Red Sox picked him up from, and certainly an outstanding deal for Boston. This guy did a job for him, batting .310 and .298 overall. Gullett hoping for better things tonight, and throwing nothing but strikes here to the first 2 Boston hitters.
And he and Morgan have showed us how to play second base in this series.
Gullett's first World Series decision, a losing one against Tion and the Red Sox Saturday afternoon. Breaking ball is by the first baseman. That'll be in for at least a pair. As you see the right fielder Ken Griffey running the ball down. Here's Doyle. He'll go to third. The throw from Concepcion, and not in time. So Denny Doyle immediately putting instantaneous pressure on Don Gullett and the Reds with a bouncing ball between Tony Perez and the foul line. And here's Ken Griffey. We talked about that problematical area in right field in the first game of this series here. Griffey having problems hitting Concepcion with the throw to Pete Rose not in time, and Doyle is in with a 1-out triple.
That was still a great throw by Concepcion. It didn't look like it'd even be close, and it ended up to be a fairly close play at third.
Interesting the way they defensed Doyle. They played him to hit the left field, and yet they threw him an off-speed pitch, enabling him to pull the ball by Parrott. The infield's in.
Fastball is up to Carl Yastrzemski. Denny Doyle leading off at third base. A one-out triple to right field as Boston bids to get on the board in the very first inning here. 1 ball and 1 strike. Tony mentioned the Cincinnati infield is drawn in. Series tied at 2 games apiece. And that's a strike, and plate umpire George Maloney appeared to have to think about that pitch for a moment before calling it strike 2.
Well, the expression you just saw on Yastrzemski's face told you what he thought about the pitch. He thought it was inside and high. Johnny jerked the ball in just a little.
That's going to be deep enough to get the run in. Griffey makes the play, and here's Doyle tagging and coming on in with the first run of the game. The Red Sox go out in front here in the first inning. Carl Yastrzemski picking up his 3rd World Series RBI as Denny Doyle gets a glad hand as he heads back to the Red Sox dugout. And with 2 down and nobody on, the batter will be catcher Carlton Fisk.
That's a little different bench than the beginning of the game yesterday. They were a little bit subdued, sitting back on their haunches a little.
Fisk with a home run 2 nights ago here. In fact, it's been a strange series in that respect. 6 home runs in the World Series so far, and all of them coming in 1 game on Tuesday night. There's Don Gullett's wife. High school sweetheart. Ball and 1 strike to Fisk. Red Sox with a run home, 2 down. Well, at first shaking Johnny Bench off. Now throws. Check swing by Carlton Fisk, and it pays off for him. 2 balls and 1 strike. We mentioned George Maloney as a plate umpire. Satch Davidson of the National League at first. Art France of the American League at second. National League umpire Nick Colosi, the umpire at third base. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Along the left field foul line from the American League, Larry Barnett. Working the right field line is Dick Stello. Don Gullett, 2 balls and 2 strikes with Carlton Fisk. That's all for Fisk as Gullett picks up his first strikeout, and the Red Sox are out in the first inning. A good beginning, however. 1 run on 1 hit. At the end of a half inning of play, Boston won, the Reds coming to bat. Jam-packed Riverfront Stadium as we go to the bottom of the first inning. The Red Sox have already put 1 on the board against left-hander Don Gullett. And now the Reds will go to bat and hit off the right-hander Reginald Leslie Cleveland, a 13-game winner during the 1975 season. Cleveland making his 2nd appearance in this World Series and his first start. Tony, how about this guy?
Got a good slider, pretty good sinking fastball. Usually has good control, does not strike out a whole lot. But through August and September, Marty, they tell me that he was the most consistent Red Sox pitcher.
Pitched some awfully good games for the Red Sox down the stretch. Pete Rose, as always, leads it off for Cincinnati. Strike to him. Rose has had 4 hits and 15 times up.
He could have about 8 hits with the line drives he's hit in this series.
Count even to him at 1 ball and 1 strike. Rico Petrocelli over at third base, playing about even with the bag. Rose, of course, a switch hitter. Cleveland back, and the pitch is fouled off to the left. That'll be out of play.
Tony, the Red Sox players, and even the Cincinnati Reds that we're talking to, think Cleveland is really at the best when he has that high inside fastball going for himself.
He can move the hitters off the plate, come back with the breaking stuff. He can spot the ball pretty well, like Rick Wise when they each have their control. High and tight, low and away, moves the ball around.
Throws behind to him, and here's a base hit. This telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and is intended solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Commissioner of Baseball is prohibited. Major League Baseball has a right of approval of the announcers for this event.
Marty, you gave us a good scouting report to start off yesterday's ball game when Morgan got on. You said Griffey's going to hit and run. What's going to happen today?
Well, I know Sparky said earlier tonight, Tony, that they're going to try and run at will and hopefully often against this guy, and that he has a slow move to the plate. Slow delivery to the plate, but I doubt whether Rose is going to be going here. Now, Griffey attempts to put one down, but did not get it.
You know, you get talking to the players. I asked the Red Sox manager, Darrell Johnson, one player that surprised him a little bit in the series, and he said Ken Griffey. We knew he was good, but he said he's even better than I thought. He hits the ball harder. Of course, we knew he was fast, but he said the Reds have a great young player in the making here.
It's interesting you make that point, Kurt, because Sparky said earlier today the one thing that surprised him about Boston is that Dwight Evans is a much better right fielder than he had been told. Quickly, strike two. Not that he was not told that Evans was a good right fielder, but Sparky said it was almost incomprehensible to him that the guy could be as good as he is.
Rose was talking about the home run decoy he gave him. He said, how about a young kid doing that to me?
Rose over at first base. Cleveland goes that way.
He's quick to first base, Marty. As you said, he is a little bit long going to home plate, kicking that left knee, but he's quick to first.
Well, it looked like Griffey got around on it, and the third base umpire said he did.
That's Nick Colosi down there who called Griffey out on the appeal play. George Maloney, of course, watching the ball, see where it is in the strike zone. Colosi calls the play.
That'll bring up second baseman Joe Morgan. He has not hit well in this series. Has been up 14 times, has had 3 hits, has knocked in a couple of runs, but of course had the game-winning base hit here on Tuesday night in the 10th inning.
He says the best pitch Tiant threw him, he popped up to end the ball game last night. Right over the plate to him, and he popped it up.
Reggie Cleveland, having struck out Ken Griffey, off-speed pitches at the letters for a call strike. Checking the Boston defense for you, around the infield, Yastrzemski, Doyle, Burleson, and Petrocelli. In the outfield, left, center, and right, Benitez, Lynn, and Evans, with Carlton Fisk behind the plate. Strike is called.
I have a hunch Morgan likes to hit in these kinds of situations with a man on first base being held down. He's such a good pull hitter. He takes advantage of that hole between Doyle, the second baseman, and Yastrzemski.
0-2, the count on Joe Morgan, with Pete Rose at first, 1 down in the Reds' first inning. Evans will play it in right field. Here comes Rose to third. Look at that rifle on Evans' part, but cut off by Burleson, and, well, here come the Cincinnati Reds. Looked like he made a bad pitch to Morgan, Tony, a 2-strike pitch. He hung on a frozen rope. Sparky Anderson, we talked last night about where he likes to sit when his team is in the field. When his team is hitting, he likes to be right there by the man who knows the hitters well, and that's batting coach Ted Kluszewski.
Well, first and third, 1 out, you would think Morgan's in a steal situation, but with Perez in a slump that he is, if Joe should go down, he might put Johnny on to get to Tony, set up a double play. Let's see if Morgan plays it by the book or if he takes off.
Well, the crowd coming to life early here at Riverfront Stadium. The Reds have had back-to-back hits from Pete Rose and Joe Morgan. Cleveland throwing high to Carl Yastrzemski as Rose broke quickly off the bag at third base. Goes that way again. Reds hitters have found the Boston pitching somewhat tough at times in this series. Boston has out-hit them. Now to Bench. A good pitch out away from him. Johnny so far has been up 16 times with 4 hits. He's had a home run and has knocked in 3 runs. Another throw on to first and another high throw.
We don't know if Joe's going or not, but he's been giving a lot of decoys, knee fakes, head fakes, as if to go to see if he can get a good pitch for Bench.
There goes Morgan. Bench does not get it. Throw to second, cut off by the second baseman, Denny Doyle.
Here's Joe, no chance for Carlton Fisk, and Denny Doyle all the way was cutting it off. He was looking at that runner at third base, Pete Rose. He didn't want him to score. Johnny had a good pitch, high and in fastball to hit. Just gets rid of the ball, but when Morgan's got everything going for him, forget it.
It's 2 strikes on Johnny Bench. The Reds now have second and third occupied with nobody out. The Red Sox are leading by a score of 1-0. Rather, 1 out in the inning. The off-speed pitch is outside. Talked about the hitting comparison between the two teams. The Red Sox have out-hit the Reds 40-28 coming into tonight's game. Fly ball quickly in. Benitez, he makes the catch, rose his tag. He's coming to the plate, and he's going to be out of there.
Whoa.
Juan Benitez catching the line drive to left off the bat of Bench. The Reds are out in the first inning.
We saw Benitez yesterday down the left field line, shy away from the ball. Today makes not only a great catch, but look at the throw to get Pete Rose. Right on the money off the artificial surface where you get the true hop, and a good tag by Fest.
Benitez, of course, is not as good as left as Rick Miller or Carl Yastrzemski, but on this play, a perfect strike. He charged the ball right there, and Fisk has the tag waiting for Pete Rose sliding in.
Big first inning play for Boston. That ends the inning. At the end of 1, it's the Red Sox 1, the Cincinnati Reds 0. Brett Lynn standing in for openers to begin the second as Gullett misses outside to him. Well, they say momentum is the name of the game in a short series, and Boston certainly has had more of it than the Reds have had so far. Should be a routine play for Pete Rose.
Let's take a look at the end of that play, the double play, Benitez to Fisk. And watch Fisk get out of the way. Remember, he got his knee tore up very severely in a collision at home. He used to block the plate. Right now, he's just making the one-hand tag like Bench, trying to get out of the way.
Hey, I've been talking to both Bench and Fisk about each other. Fisk says, I do it my way. Bench does it his way.
Don Gullett came with some kind of heater right there to Rico Petrocelli, strike 1. And Petrocelli has been a hitting surprise in this series. He's had 7 hits and 15 times up. He and Rick Burleson are tied for the most hits.
Back 3 infielders of the Red Sox, Doyle, Burleson, and Petrocelli, are the only players on both teams who've hit safely in every game.
1-1 the count. "24-year-old Don Gullett. This guy has been money in the bank for the Cincinnati Reds. He has his second strikeout.
He is throwing hard now, Marty and Kurt. Harder than he did in that first inning.
Oh, yes. This is the Gullett that Tony and I have seen on the Game of the Week times, and that Marty Brennaman has seen a lot during the year. He has more velocity tonight than he had last Saturday in Boston.
Well, Kurt, as you mentioned earlier, had he not been out for the 2 months with a broken thumb, the people here in Cincinnati, certainly Sparky Anderson, felt like he would have been a lead pipe cinch to win 25 games. Here's Dwight Evans, a right fielder. A ball is high.
All you've got to do is look at the expressions or the way the hitters check their swing to see how hard a guy is throwing.
Boston leading 1-0. Broken bat. That's George Foster. That's the second out. Lutz retires aside as Lynn pops to third. Petrocelli strikeout, and Evans a fly ball to left at the end of an inning and a half. The Red Sox 1, Reds 0. Reds will be batting in the bottom of the second, and, well, I'll buy that. Tony Perez, he's hitless in the World Series. Up 14 times as Cleveland delivers, and he fouls it off.
But he still has that great smile on his face around the batting cage. He's one of the classiest men I've ever met in the big leagues.
He's an amazing man, Kurt. I heard a writer earlier tonight say he's one of the few guys who have had the kind of series he's had, and you can talk to him, and he'll talk to you openly about it.
He's had up and down World Series. At 70, he had only 1 hit in 18 times. Pardon me. In 72, he came back to hit .435. Now he's struggling in the 75 series.
Cleveland getting out of a first inning jam on a big play by Juan Benitez in left field, and he's now a ball and 2 strikes on Tony Perez. Fine year for this man during the season. He got hot after the All-Star game, finished up with 20 homers, 109 runs batted in. And he has struck out. That's number 2 for Cleveland. But Tony Perez continues to have his problems. Here's a Cincinnati left fielder, George Foster. Foster up 15 times with 5 hits. Native Californian. 8 game-winning RBIs in 1975.
He's the strongest guy in this club.
I would say without question he is, Tony. When he hits one, he really puts a charge into the baseball and probably hits it farther than anybody on this club. Ball 1. Davey Concepcion will be up next. Boston with a first inning run. We're in the bottom of the second.
Stan Williams, the pitching coach of the Red Sox, talks a lot about Reggie Cleveland, saying he's a man who knows how to pitch. He knows how to set up hitters. He has an idea what he wants to do. There's Stan sitting next to Johnny Pesky. But he's high and tight, and then he's low away with a slider or curveball. He moves you off the plate.
Al Foster going into his stalling tactic, something that we witnessed all season long. He's in, he's out. When the pitcher thinks he's ready, he'll step out in the middle of his windup.
You ever say why he does all that? Loses concentration, or? Some guys don't like standing there. Yogi was one, Marty and Kurt, that I remember. He had to be moving all the time with the bat. Foster gets there like a statue, gets a little tense, and you can't pull the trigger as quickly.
Got to be talking all the time, too.
Cleveland pops him up, and Fisk may have a play on it. 2 down.
Cute story on this man last night, Tony and I found out. Concepcion came to the plate, Tian on the mound. Both speak Spanish, and he yelled out, "Hey, you ball-headed old man, how about giving me a fastball?" Tian says, "You get one." And he threw him a fastball in the next pitch, and he fouled it back.
2 out, the base is empty. There's Burleson. There's Yastrzemski, and the side retired. So the Reds are out in order at the end of 2 complete innings of play in Game 5. The Red Sox won, the Reds nothing. Number 8 batter in the Red Sox lineup, Rick Burleson, their shortstop, will begin the 3rd inning.
This is a man that has impressed Cincinnati. Pete Rose said that fellow knows how to play baseball.
Well, I think the biggest compliment you can pay a guy in any game, Kurt, is to call him a winner, and I think everybody on the Reds club feels this way about Burleson.
In fact, Pete said, I don't know who taught him, but somebody taught that Burleson and Evans how to play and play the game right.
That's 7 hits. Gellett gets a strike in off the 1-0 pitch. Don Gellett, an amazing record at Riverfront Stadium this season. 10 wins and only 1 loss during the regular season, plus a win against Pittsburgh in the playoffs. Jam job, and it's fouled back over the netting. Pitcher Reggie Cleveland on deck. Red Sox getting to Gellett for a run in the first inning on a 1-out triple by Doyle and a sacrifice fly by Carl Yastrzemski. Red Sox, Burleson popping it up. They converge. And Morgan in a crowd.
Look at Pete. Pete even hustled back with nobody covering from his third base spot to get the bag just in case the ball was dropped or there was a collision. Here they all come. Finally, Morgan waves him off, and look at Pete Rose go.
So Don Gellett appears to be picking up a head of steam since that triple by Doyle. He's retired 6 batters in a row and working now to Reggie Cleveland. We pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network. Cleveland down a strike has not batted in 2 seasons. He's down at 0-2.
He was a good hitter when he hit in the National League for a pitcher.
211 lifetime batting average. Hit 239 and 230 in his last 2 National League seasons in 72 and 73.
He is smoking now. Since he got hurt by that forkball that Doyle drilled in the right field corner for a triple, setting up the run, he's gone almost all fastballs.
He's had 3 strikeouts. Go back to the top of the Red Sox batting order for Juan Beniquez. Last night, making his first World Series start, had a hit in 4 times up. Beniquez starting out his professional career as an infielder. Started in left field last night with Carl Yastrzemski moving into first base against the left-hander Fred Norman, and Darrell Johnson going to the same alignment tonight. Count even, a ball and a strike. Well, you got a good three-shot of Gullett, Beniquez, and Both. He loops one, and Morgan on the run has got it. Red Sox are out 1-2-3 in their half of the third inning. And at the end of 2.5, 1-0 Boston.
Tony, this is what they used to say in your dugout about sawing the bat handle off.
He really got him on the fist. Look at the expression on Beniquez's face. And certain pitchers, overpowering pitchers, throw heavy balls. And I believe, talking to some of the hitters around the league, that's what Gullett throws. It feels like you're hitting a lead weight, even if you hit it on the good part of the bat at times.
Here's Cesar Geronimo beginning the Cincinnati third, and I'll tell you, this guy has had some kind of fine 2 games at Cincinnati's Riverfront Stadium. 2 hits night before last, a 3-hit evening last night. Freddie Lynn tracking it. 1 out.
Ray Shore, your super scout that you mentioned in the opening, was talking a lot about Fred Lynn before the ball game, about how graceful he is and how very often before the ball is hit, he's got 2 or 3 steps in the direction the ball is going to be hit. It's an excellent jump.
Now Don Gullett with 1 out. Talk about pretty good hitting pitchers. Gullett would certainly fall into that category. 238 last year, 226 this season. Strike to him from Cleveland. Opening game of the playoffs against Pittsburgh, hit a home run, the first ever in his professional career with a man on. Reds have had 2 hits off Cleveland. The Red Sox 1 hit off Gullett. And it has been a game pretty much of strikeouts so far. Gullett has fanned 3 in 3 innings, and Cleveland right now working on his third. Down 0-2 to Don Gullett. And that's his third strikeout.
You know, he's got a good fastball himself tonight, but he looks slow compared to the way Gullett's throwing. Yet Cleveland has been excellent.
That's right, Kurt. It gives you a pretty good idea of how hard Don Gullett can throw. Pete Rose has had 1 of the 2 Cincinnati hits. Get an idea of how strongly Rose finished.
Marty, it does look like he's using that bat that he brought out here earlier. Maybe you can tell our fans the story on that bat he had.
Well, he had a bat that was made of solid oak that he got from a teacher of one of his children, and let Bill Plummer use it during batting practice. He hit some real shots, and Rose kind of liked it. Said he might use it in the game tonight, but so far apparently has not. What, Tony, 40 ounces?
He said he wanted to see how hard Cleveland's throwing first. If he's throwing too hard, he said, I can't get it around.
Said it is impossible to break it. Now Cleveland a pitch away from putting Rose on with what would be the first walk of the game. Reggie Cleveland coming over to the Red Sox from the St. Louis Cardinals a couple of seasons ago. There's a called strike. He joined the Red Sox along with Diego Segui and fielder Terry Hughes, and the Cardinals got pitchers John Curtis, Lynn McLaughlin, and Mike Garman, and as things turned out, a pretty good trade for both clubs. Rose is on.
Marty, that was one of those trades as we watched old Charlie Hustle go to it again down first base. One of those trades that took a year to develop and be successful, as Cleveland had some knee problems. Wise had an arm problem. But Dick O'Connell is seeing the fruits of it in this World Series.
Kenny Griffey, one of the 3 strikeouts that Cleveland has chalked up. Reggie got him swinging in the first inning. Boston 1, the Cincinnati Reds nothing as we play baseball in the home third in Game 5 of the 1975 World Series. Nice play by Denny Doyle. Well, he timed the jump just right to pick it off. Doyle with a fine defensive play as he heads back on toward the dugout. At the end of 3, Boston leading the Cincinnati Reds 1-0.
Here's the tail end of that looping line drive. Cleveland jammed Griffey with it. Doyle timing the play perfectly. And it seems like so far in this series, the Red Sox have been coming up with the plays when they need them. Here again with Rose on first base, they might have had something going first and third.
Top of the fourth inning, and Denny Doyle, who's had the only hit off of Don Gullett, the triple, he scored the run, and Gullett backing him off the plate. Some kind of World Series for this guy. Ball 2.
Some kind of a season since June. Week after week, month after month for him.
Longest hitting streak in the American
Right.
League. 22 games straight he hit in. A little bit early. What's the sign say?
Go Reds, light up something for Christmas.
Light up
for Christmas. That's all.
2-1 the count on Doyle. Gullett slides one over on the inside.
He's got the right outfit on tonight. It's 150 degrees here.
On deck for the Red Sox, Carl Yastrzemski.
He's got to feel awfully silly, though, doesn't he?
Chopper. Easy play for Johnny Bench. One away.
The Doyle, anyway, Gunn has gone more to the breaking balls. He threw him 3 of 4 pitches were breaking balls. Here's the play, and Johnny Bench and his reaction from behind home plate. Gunn, an excellent fielder, but he gives ground to Bench, who gets into the fair territory, not to hit the runner.
That was an easy play for Bench, but he's made 2 beauties on balls topped out in front of the plate.
He sure has, Kurt. Here's Carl Yastrzemski, had a fly ball to knock in a run in the first. There you go again, Tony, the off-speed pitches. RBI for Yastrzemski is 3rd in this series. That one hit well. There's Geronimo.
There he had a chance to see Cesar in action. We've talked so much about Freddie Lynn and the graceful manner in which he goes after a ball. Take a look at Cesar Geronimo. He is considered by many the best in the National League, and Sparky Anderson, obviously, the best in baseball.
Sparky Anderson says Lynn's a great young player, but he can't compare to my man, Geronimo. I think he's the best there is. The range, the arm, the jump on the ball.
Guy started out in the New York Yankee organization as a pitcher. Converted him to the outfield, was at Houston. Of course, came to the Reds in that big deal in '71. Carlton Fisk, the 2-out hitter. Gullett got him looking in the first inning. He also finished the season strong. Also has hit very well in postseason play. 2 balls and no strikes.
Marty, a lot of the clubs in the National League, the Dodgers for one, use that radar gun during the season to time their pitchers. Has that gun ever been put on Gullett?
Not to my knowledge, Tony. I don't think it has. They put it on Louis Tiant here last night and clocked his off-speed stuff at 52 miles an hour and his fastball at 83 miles an hour. Be interesting to see how they clock Gullett.
Gullett has thrown some today that look like they're 100 plus.
2 balls and 2 strikes, and there was a good heater again. Tell you, he's locating much better tonight than he did Saturday at Fenway. He's just getting a piece of the ball.
Saturday at Fenway, he did what so many left-handers do in that ballpark, try and keep the ball away from right-handed hitters too much, and they miss outside and get in trouble.
Strikes out Fisk for the second time. He has 4, and he set him down in order for the 3rd straight time. In the middle of the 4th inning, Boston 1, Cincinnati nothing. Now you see the Cincinnati Reds mascot. He's known as Mr. Red, and pretty much of an every-day, every-night figure around Riverfront Stadium when the Reds are playing here during the season. Quite a load he's carrying on the top of his shoulders. Meet of the batting order for the Cincinnati Reds. Joe Morgan to start it off. Had a base hit in the first inning when the Reds threatened, but could not get on the board and trail 1-0 here.
They got to kick some rider ass. Morgan, you get on base a lot, don't you? So that's what I'm paid to do.
Pounding ball foul.
Then he added, that's what separates me from the average ball player.
Well, I'll tell you, Kurt, nobody will ever accuse Joe Morgan of not having a lot of confidence in his own ability.
Well, he was honest about it. I mean, he wasn't bragging. He just stating it back.
Some pretty good credentials to back it up. Oh, good pitch by Cleveland.
One of the first straight changeups he's thrown looked almost like a screwball as we look at Bench on deck.
2 strikes on Joe Morgan. Once again, you get an idea as we look at the Boston Red Sox outfield of how much room they give Joe Morgan along the left field foul line and also in left center field. Look at the tremendous amount of area along the left field line and also in the power alley in left center. Check the swing.
Cleveland's unhappy with that call.
He came 5-6 feet down off the mound to get on the home plate umpire George Maloney. He thought the ball caught the outside corner. Tiant got on the umpires, did Fisk in last night's ball game.
Morgan walking 132 times during the season to set a club record. Cleveland throwing 2-2. Joe appeared to be a little bit upset with himself on that pitch.
A tribute to Morgan's strength for his size, how deep Fred Lynn is playing him, because Lynn plays usually a fairly shallow center field, but he's way back there, and so is Evans. You know, this little guy can hit a ball a long way.
17 home runs in the year. Towering fly ball that Evans should have no trouble with, and that will be out number 1. Johnny Bench, a man who hit that line drive to left in the first inning with runners at first and third, and Juan Beniquez making the catch and throwing a strike to Carlton Fisk to get the double play that ended the inning. Hit by a number of different injuries during the season. Will find its way back into the stands along the right side.
Marty, they tell me that the 2 men at the plate right now, Bench and Fisk, of course, playing defensively, studied those scouting reports, committed them to memory more than anybody else. And they're the guys back there who are the generals. They move the outfielders and infielders around.
Petrocelli. I'll tell you, if there's been one consistent thing in this series, it's been the fact that the Reds have hit the ball at times very hard, but right at people. Here's Petrocelli now on the line drive by Bench. One quick step to his right. He leaves the artificial surface, and he's got it.
And that's what the scouting reports will do, the advanced reports. They position you correctly so you can catch those hard hit balls. That is, if your pitcher does his job.
Well, there's a blast into deep left center field, and it's tied up.
Boy, he's happy. He clapped his hands as he rounded first base. He finally broke out of it.
0 for 15, and Tony Perez makes his first 1975 World Series hit, a big one with a game-tying 4th inning home run. Reds dugout a little bit happy, you might say, and Joe Morgan there all smiles. Sparky Anderson, they love to see this guy hit. George Foster waiting for things to quiet down a bit. The Reds have now reached Cleveland for 3 hits, and that home run tied it up at a run apiece. Not only was Perez 0 for 15 before the home run, he was 0 for 19, including his last playoff game, and that is first lifetime World Series homer. There's Tony Perez. Now Foster. A ball. Foster popped to Fisk his first time up. Now a pop that Yastrzemski will handle. That's all for the Reds in inning number 4. They get the tying run on Perez's home run. And as we go to the 5th inning, the Reds won, the Red Sox won. Preceding announcement was furnished as a public service by Major League Baseball. Well, we've had 3 barn burners as you take a look at Tony Perez, a guy who had his first lifetime World Series home run to tie this game up. Freddie Lynn leading off the 5th for Boston and swings and misses. 3 straight one-run games and a 1-1 tie here. 1 ball and 1 strike to Lynn.
Lynn feels he's in a slump. He hasn't hit the ball well. He's got a hit here and there, but he says he's pulling off the ball, striding toward first base. and that's what it makes him do, go after bad pitches. That's a fastball you've got to lay off when you're facing Don Gullett. It's an impossible thing to do sometimes. It moves so much. That one high in the strike zone really has velocity and movement.
Don Gullett really bringing it tonight. His 5th strikeout.
And with the exceptional stuff he's had, he hasn't walked a batter, which makes him even rougher. He is now retired 10, 11, 12 in a row.
During the year, he averaged, as far as strikeouts are concerned, about 5.5 per 9 innings. Averaged slightly over 3 walks per 9 innings. Facing Petrocelli, ball 1. Two balls and no strikes. Petrocelli was struck out on the 2nd.
Excuse me, Marty. As I recall, Gullett didn't have much minor league experience, did he?
Played only 11 games, Tony, and that was in the lower minor leagues. He got to the big leagues in a hurry. Two balls and 1 strike. On deck for the Red Sox, right fielder Dwight Evans. Red Sox getting a run in the first. The Reds with a homer by Perez in the last inning. Griffey and Geronimo converge on the ball. They more often than not let that man play it.
At this point, Don Gullett just about has the Red Sox hitters overmatched the way he's throwing the ball. His fastball is really darting around. We're going to try and get some shots from you, maybe in slow motion from this angle, to see if we can see the movement on the ball as it comes to the plate.
Boston hitter is Dwight Evans. He flied to left field his first time up in the 2nd. He sends one into left center field. Now Geronimo will do his thing as he slows to a trot. And that is now 4 consecutive innings that Gullett has set him down in order after 4.5, a 1-1 ball game. Well, we've had 4.5 innings of bang-bang baseball in the 5th game of the 75 World Series. Reggie Cleveland, Don Gullett, a 1-1 tie. And here to carry you the rest of the way in game number 5, Curt Gowdy.
Our ears are being bothered by that pop of Gullett's fastball into Johnny Bench's mitt. You just don't see a fellow throw as hard as he is tonight. But he's being matched by quite a pitcher here, Reggie Cleveland. So we're going now to the last of the 5th inning. 1 run, 1 hit for the Red Sox. 1 run, 3 hits for Cincinnati. Concepcion, Geronimo, and Gullett. The bottom third of the Red batting order. We've had only 1 walk in the game. Cleveland walked Rose in the 3rd. That one is fouled over in back of the Red dugout, out of play. Sparky Anderson says, I'd like to win tonight. I'd hate to go to Boston behind because we would not be able to make a mistake at Fenway Park. He and Big Clue talking there. And, of course, he's got his ace going tonight, Gullett. That's a strike, 0-2 to Dave Concepcion. He grounded out his first time. On deck, Geronimo. 1 through 8 batting order that is almost relentless. Just don't have a let up in it. Concepcion leading off, last of the 5th inning. Hard ground ball to Petrocelli. Up with it. The throw in time. He has probably never played a better third base than he's playing in this World Series.
That gets to be a little tricky. You mentioned it earlier, Marty, that little seam. And when the ball comes off the artificial surface, it was right on the edge of the seam in the grass. It can be a little bit of a problem, but Petrocelli wisely got in front of the ball, kept it in front of him like a catcher would. Throw out Concepcion.
Cesar Geronimo. 3 hits last night. A homer and a single the night before. Flying out in his first time tonight. Game tied, 1-1, last of the 5th inning. Cleveland giving him kind of a slow breaking pitch for ball one.
Kurt, in the fourth inning, they started swinging a little bit better at Cleveland. He got a few pitches up. Morgan just missed the ball. He popped up to right field. The last one was hit sharply.
Cleveland's down low now to Geronimo, that low breaking stuff. A ball and a strike. Don Gullett, the pitcher of the Reds, will be up next. Bill Lee will pitch Saturday in Boston. Jack Billingham for the Reds. That one's hit off the handle to Denny Doyle. The throw. Oh, that Geronimo went down that line and nearly beat that one out. 2 down. Gullett getting a hand. He gave up a run in the first inning on Doyle's triple and Yastrzemski's sacrifice fly, and since then he's been untouchable. That extra day's rest probably has helped him, too. He could have come back last night, but they wanted to try Norman here and then pitch Gullett tonight.
You know, a lot of people are really questioning Sparky Anderson about his rotation, Kurt, and that with Gullett pitching tonight, of course, eliminates him from pitching a possible 7th game.
Well, he'll be out in the bullpen if they go in the 7th game.
Absolutely.
Sparky said tonight he didn't know who he'd pitch. He said, I may pitch my entire staff if I have to. Tiant, if that goes 7 games, will start for Boston. And Gullett has a base hit up the middle. The Reds have 4 hits, the Red Sox 1 hit. Gullett showing you what kind of an athlete he is. Here's Pete Rose. He's been on twice. He's singled and walked. Rose is, he's always talking to somebody, the umpires, the opposition. Somebody asked Sparky Anderson, do you resent that? He always seems to have his nose in something. He said, no, he's like me, he's nervous. He said he can't sit still in the hotel lobby. He's got to get up and move around. 2 down, Gullett to first. Game tied 1-1, last of the 5th. Rose trying to hit that hanging curveball.
Got off the elevator yesterday after the ball game on the ground floor level, and all of a sudden the riders got off, and some kid came sliding right into the elevator door. Guess who it was, Marty?
Pete Rose Jr.
That's your life.
Googie. It's his nickname.
You got more pep than the old man?
He sure does.
1 strike. There's a drive. That's a tough chance. It's a fair, and it is a fair ball in the corner. Gullett is being waved on. And he is in to score. Rose holds it second. Rose doubled to the left field corner.
Carlson really mad down at the third base back. He kicked that dirt after the overthrow of the cutoff man. There goes Benitez into the corner. The ball sliced away from him. He got the ball pretty quickly, but then he made his mistake when he overthrew it. With Gullett's speed, I don't think they'd have gotten him anyway. Carlson very upset. One of the few fundamental mistakes that Red Sox have made so far in this series, overthrowing a cutoff man.
Oh, Rose has had a perfect night with a single, a walk, a double to the left field corner. He has an RBI, and the Reds have the lead 2-1. Ken Griffey has struck out and lined out. Rose at second. All this came after 2 out, nobody on. A ball to Ken Griffey. Joe Morgan scheduled up next. We're going to get some action in the Red Sox bullpen. He pops it up. And an inside-out swing. Petroselli in foul ground, puts it away. The Reds had a run. They had 2 hits. They left 1. At the end of 5, Cincinnati 2 and Boston 1.
It doesn't get on him. I don't know. See, no.
That's Jim Willoughby, a right-hander, and Roger Moret, a left-hander, warming up in the Red Sox bullpen. We're down to the tail end of the Red Sox batting order. Rick Burleson is leading off. Reggie Cleveland scheduled up behind him. Don Gullett, high with that fastball. He's allowed only one hit, a triple by Doyle in the first. With one out, then Doyle scored on Yastrzemski's sacrifice fly. And no other Boston runners reached base. Fly ball right out to Griffey, almost in his tracks, one down. He is now retired 14 in a row. Reggie Cleveland coming out. He struck out his first time.
He's hardly showing the right-handed hitters any breaking pitches at all. The left-handers, Yastrzemski and Doyle, he's throwing some breaking balls to, but he's gone to his heater, the right-handed hitters.
He's high to Cleveland for a ball, 1-0. No walks. You have this remarkable talent and don't walk anyone. It'll be very tough to beat tonight. Two balls and no strikes. That's Benikas on deck. There's a strike, 2-1. Gullett working on a one-hitter. Now he's in danger of walking his first batter. 3-1 to the opposing pitcher.
He's had a couple of easy innings thrown in there, too, so he could be strong if he goes to the 7th, 8th, and 9th.
A 3-1 delivery. He pours it over for a strike. 3-2 to Reggie Cleveland. One away, nobody on. Cincinnati ahead of Boston 2-1 in the 6th. Strikeout number 6.
Let's look at it from our center field camera in slow motion. You can see the effort behind Gullett's pitch. He throws a little across his body, and Reggie Cleveland just plain overmatched as the ball is almost in Bench's glove. That one tailed away from Cleveland. Some have been darting in, some have been taking off. A live arm.
6 strikeouts, no walks, 1 hit. Benikas the batter. Top of the Red Sox order. That ball popping into Johnny Bench's mitt. A little bit outside, 1-0 to Juan Benikas. Denny Doyle on deck. Benikas is shaded to the opposite field. They played him straight away last night, but the stuff that Gullett has tonight, they're playing the batters, especially the right-handers, to swing late. 2 balls and no strikes.
He's got the kind of fastball today that some catchers will put an extra sponge in their glove for.
Now he's behind 3-0.
Here's Don Gullett's motion, and as Tony said, oftentimes a catcher will put that extra bit of sponge in his glove, and Johnny Bench will do that on occasion when Don Gullett is on the mound.
Now Gullett comes right back in with a fastball for a strike. 3-1, 2 down, nobody on. Cincinnati ahead 2-1. There is the first base runner for the Red Sox since the first inning, and the first walk issued by Gullett. Benikas on, 2 down, and Denny Doyle has the only hit for Boston tonight, a triple to right field in the first. And he has scored the lone Boston run. Benikas has good speed.
Gullett, a tough man to steal off. He doesn't have a good move to first, but he's very quick to home plate. They tried off in the first game in Boston, and Bench gunned the runner out at second. He's short, compact, gets the ball to home plate in a hurry.
I think that's an understatement.
I mean, before he even releases the ball, he's got good, quick motion to home.
0-1 to Denny Doyle. Benikas attempted 17 steals this last year, successful 7 times. There's a ground ball to Perez at first. Doyle is out, and so are the Red Sox. No runs, no hits, 1 left. Go to the last of the 6th inning.